What's shaking, everybody? My name is Ross Mandel, and I'm coming to you guys live today from Delray Beach, Florida, Scott Woolley Studios. And today's guest is just absolutely spectacular. I feel lucky. I feel blessed. You guys can't imagine what's coming. She is a clinical psychologist. She's Canadian. She's from Toronto. She is a spectacular woman by every sense of every definition of any word that you can think of. Dr. Monica Vermani.
Thank you, Ross, for having me.
So excited to have you, not just here, but in studio.
This is wonderful. I'm glad to be here. The weather's wonderful.
Now, we've established this off camera. We had a brief chat. I love to let the audience know, but before today, we have never met, right?
No, we've
never
met.
spoken before.
We've never spoken before.
Okay, but I will say this to you. So I have a team spearheaded by a young woman named Stephanie.
And she's phenomenal. I've adored her since I've met her. She's been planning this all out for me, and I have to admit, she's a special one.
So I've hosted right around 100 podcasts at this point, all in 1 year. And I've been a guest on somewhere between 20 and 30, 25 and 30. And this is the most excited that my team has ever been for any guest ever. So my first question is, do you hypnotize people?
I wish, no, but I do build rapport. I think that's a part of the job.
Brainwash.
You know what it is?
Voodoo.
I do believe there are no accidents. You meet the right people at the right time. And the way Stefan and I connected was through a chat and on a podcast I did after for Sea Rock. And it was amazing because we just connected very organically. And then we met over a Zoom meeting to talk about this podcast. And here I am.
So you and her don't have any secret hidden relationships I should know about?
Nope. Nothing
No financial
secret.
scheming, kickbacks,
Nope.
payoffs.
All about the greater good and helping people heal to live their highest and best version.
I just had to establish
of them.
this because I'm very suspicious.
Okay.
You know, there's so much love there.
Yeah.
And I sort of understand why. I'm very average at most things, but I'm intuitive when it comes to one or two things.
Mm-hmm.
So you flew in from Canada, is that correct?
I did.
Okay, and you're going to be doing some podcasts in and around town with some very special people.
Some wonderful
that are very
people.
close to me and near and dear to my heart. And I want to talk to you because, you know, I have a certain expression that's come to define me.
Mm-hmm.
I say that everybody dies.
Yeah.
Not everybody lives.
And my logo is, for my corporate as well as my private practice, is stop existing, start living.
I love that because, you know, I spent a lot of years in therapy. I shared that with you. And a lot of years trying to understand who I am and what the hell is wrong with me.
We're all perfect and a work in progress. I think everybody can do fine-tuning. We do the best we can with what we know. Sometimes we need to spend more time with ourselves to understand the battlefield within us. And each and every one of us have a battlefield of who our true self is and what is expected of us. Whenever we're caught up in pleasing others at the expense of ourselves, we lose a piece of ourselves. And we're well adjusted to a sick society. And today's society perpetuates us to compete, to kind of look at making others happy at our expense. And sometimes a lot of self-sacrifice gets you to a place of emptiness. And so living with full color is authentic living, living for yourself, but also understanding what will make me happy. Many people can't answer that.
I'm not sure I get that myself. I'm not sure exactly what will make me happy. But what I want to do is, you were not born Dr. Monica Vermani,
No.
were you?
Nope.
That's something that you attained through a lot of hard work, study, right? So who is Monica Vermani? Where'd you come from? Tell us about early life, your family, as much as you're allowed to. Under Canadian law,
Yes.
I've learned a lot to tell the audience that, you know, Canadian law applies regarding details of, I guess, psychologists, psychiatrists, medical professionals. So share with, who are you? Where'd you come from? I want to hear about it.
So I'm born and raised in Toronto. My parents are immigrants from India. My dad left
When
home.
you say India, India like Bombay, Calcutta, India?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. New Delhi and Bombay,
Wow.
and I have family in Punjab. My father left home earlier, went to Germany, went to Montreal, and then came to Toronto. And after that, he met my mom and brought her. And so it was a small-knit family, me, my mom, and my dad for a period of time. And my dad had a workplace accident, and then my brother was born. So my brother's 10 years younger, and the four of us had our own little quaint family. As I mentioned, my father had a workplace accident when I was about 6.5, and that changed and altered the course of a household where a traditional Indian man, patriarchal and stuff, was running the house, and he kind of now had to take care of himself and work on his level of disabilities and PTSD. And my mom and I grew up really, really fast. And
Wow,
that started
what a great
new
story.
Yeah.
What did your dad do?
My dad was an electrician.
Okay, so he had
Yeah.
some sort of trade he knew.
He was a trade.
Now, I have a little knowledge of the Indian people. I was I was approached to be one of the first investors in Bollywood.
Ah.
It was stupid. I didn't do it. I want to strangle myself. Believe me, I would have been a major player there.
Yeah.
And they really tried very hard to seduce me. And I blew that one. But I understand, because I did a lot of studying in that regard, that the Indians, I think they're the next great nation. Everyone talks about China. The Indians stress family and education. They have real values, and they have open borders. The
Yeah.
Chinese are really, penned in, and they're subject to this government that's on top of them.
Yeah.
And so the Indians travel the world. They migrate, but they tend to be clannish. So were you part of like an Indian community in Toronto?
You know what? I think because of my dad's disability and workplace accident, things really changed. It became a very close-knit family, and I grew up really, really fast. I started working at age 10, and then I had, full-time jobs from 15, and I've done a lot of work. And the one thing my parents always said, hard work doesn't kill you.
Work is good.
And, I learned a lot of good work ethic, I think, just working amongst different populations. And I pushed myself harder because my mom was a beautiful woman who went back to school and got her job in a government. My dad was trying to heal. And
Did he go back to work, your dad?
my dad went on and off, but the truth is he had significant issues for a long period of time.
I get it.
But the
He
nice
actually
thing
lost
is,
his leg?
Yeah.
From
And
where? His hip
he
or from
had
his knee?
From lower, and he had a metal rod in his leg, actually. And so my father had his own disabilities and struggles, but I feel like there are no accidents. That household and the disabilities and the story of my father's life and my mother's life has made me who I am today. I wanted to be stronger than my mom in many ways, to educate myself and be self-sufficient just in case anything ever happened. I became, in some ways, the boy of the family because I was the eldest born. And so shovel the snow, cut the grass, doing things that my dad thought only boys do. And growing up with a father like that, I became a caregiver. And that caregiving led to a career in it. And many ways I do attribute my family household circumstances to the roadblocks as well as the stepping stones to me being who I am today. At one point I even questioned, do I know how to do other things than caregive? I love psychology, but my life has led me here since I was a kid.
It sort of defined who you are today,
Yeah.
in part, correct?
Yeah.
But
And it evolved in many ways. I had meditation teachers coming to the house, and I never understood that. I had meditation teachers, which I'm sure a lot of people don't always have, coming to the house to help my dad and my mom, and I learned meditation from a young age.
Wow.
So I've always had psychology, science background, and meditation. And throughout my career, as I grew, I met the right people at the right time, which reinforced spirituality, reinforced a level of, you know what, we got to get out of the way, get out of our heads, and just trust that there's a bigger picture being laid out for you. And your suffering is a catalyst for change. All human suffering shows you how resilient, strong, how capable, and also can show you your roadblocks or your blind spots that you have to work through, which is where therapy comes in.
That was just so beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm like spellbound. You have a very sort of alluring, hypnotic way of speaking.
Well, I did a TED Talk at U of T called Think About It. Thoughts are powerful things.
What does UFT stand for?
University of Toronto.
Okay.
And my TEDx talk was on think about it. Everything ever created started with a thought, good or bad. Thoughts shape your life. And what are the thoughts that we live by? Stories, narratives. We live by traumas. We live by, personalizing heartbreak or personalizing job loss and taking away the authenticity of how remarkable we are by sometimes attaching labels, blame, shame, guilt. And many of us are just constantly working through removing layers of whatever you personalize that doesn't serve your highest and best version of you.
That was such a brilliant soliloquy, I have to say. Your presence is captivating. I hope the audience is able to take this in, because you're so eloquent, intelligent, and well-spoken. But the content of what you're saying is profound. It's really, really profound stuff. Now I'm beginning to understand why my team was so crazy. You really are special. So you're a young girl, to step back, you said you worked as early as 10 years old.
I started paper routes, and then I got a job at a department store that hired me underage. I think back in the day we were allowed to do those things.
Oh,
And, it was a different time. I didn't have a laptop till my master's.
Really?
And, it was a different time.
You look very young to me.
I'm in my 50s, yeah.
Are you really?
Yeah, I am.
I'm shocked. I'm truly shocked, just so you know. Wow. Okay, so now I have a better understanding, because you're so accomplished. I was trying to do the math.
I've done prison work for a long period of time.
That was part of my calculation.
Yeah.
Now, I was in prison.
Yes.
And a few different prisons. And I had a counselor, and I did some psychology stuff. And, they look at you and they try to assess you, and they score you and all these different things when you're on the inside. And I found that to be very, the most interesting people that I met in prison were the prison psychologists.
Mm-hmm.
Generally women, often attractive. And it's like a hostile environment, right?
I started my career in corrections. So I worked with abused women and children, and then I worked at a women's correctional facility with young offenders and then ladies. And I started my training there, and then I met a psychologist who brought me onto his private practice, Dr. Olakwa, and he motivated me, as in, you need to just keep going to school and become me. And I was like, I don't know if I want to do that. I don't know if I want to go to school forever. And he's like, you're being silly. You have the gift. You have the talent. You just need to believe in yourself and do it. And
Really?
honestly, beyond my parents, this man was another person who just instilled that faith of, if you want it, you can do it. And I remember my first paycheck as a psychometrist, which is a person who does testing for psychologists.
Wow.
He wrote down on that paycheck, Dr. Monica Vermani. And I was just in undergrad. I was finishing, I think, my undergrad.
Oh, you weren't a doctor yet?
I wasn't a doctor, and he wrote that on a paycheck,
Wow.
and I still have a photocopy of it.
I don't blame you.
I saw it, and I was like, I could do that. And then I went to school, and I never stopped. And I always met the right people whenever I got nervous about proceeding with school. It's a lot of money, it's a lot of time, it's a lot of work. And, people kept getting married and moving forward in life, and I was in school for decades. But my career always had school plus work. And I think that made me better in some ways, because I learned the skill of having great mentors. I learned the skill of working along the way of learning book knowledge, which made me learn how to integrate it better. And the biggest thing I learned working in correctional facilities was the stories don't matter. It's not about the story, it's about the person in front of you. When I started working with sex offenders, in some of the biggest jails in Canada, I would do assessments, and sometimes, they would be intimidating, but the biggest part was not about their story. It was about helping them understand their symptoms so that they could get beyond their story to now look at here and now, where do I want to be? Here and now, what do I do to heal? Here and now, how do I remove the layers of chronic PTSD, trauma, anxiety, depression? How do I remove the blame, shame, and guilt that carries with me, or my labels? And many of us just were hard on ourselves. But deep down inside, we are not our stories. We're not our traumas. We're not our anxiety. We're not our depression. We're more than that.
We're not our circumstances, and we're not our past.
Life is a series of experiences, trial and error. And we label things as negative because it inconveniences our life. But the truth is everything is trial and error. We're constantly learning and growing. And we need to have love and compassion for ourselves and others. Explore, what is a hurt and harm factor? Hurt and harm to ourselves and hurt and harm to others. And many times, if we personalize our stories, if we personalize our hardships, we can lower our vibration and we can get caught up in the stories of who we think we are.
Correct.
And we forget who we really are.
Well, who we could be.
Bingo.
Who we could be.
Correct and continue. We can be anything we want.
Dr. Vermani, you saw that on that pay stub.
Yeah.
And that really was a catalyst for your future. I
have to admit.
I also share situations like that in my life where I knew I was stuck. Mm-hmm. And I would knock on doors and I would say, would you mind if this is on Wall Street, what you call Bay Street in Toronto?
Yes.
And I would be like, can I just come and sit in your office and listen to you?
Yeah.
And they would say, okay, but no talking. And I would just sit in the corner and a senior broker would be pitching, or talking to his clients and pitching new clients. And I would just be listening to him. And, men and men, we have big egos or we want to be. Mm-hmm. And he saw me sitting there and he wanted to put on a show for me. Yeah. Mike Cavanaugh, shout out, Oppenheimer and Company, 1985. And I listened to just how he handled himself. Mm-hmm. And, selling is 90% psychology.
Yep.
And so I was able to learn just by listening and then by taking what I learned and then, like you said, working in school.
Yeah.
I was learning and applying in real life. Because school is school.
And you compared yourself. Like, comparison has its place for all of us. When I see somebody I judge as lesser than me, it shows me how far I've grown. And when I see somebody that I judge as better than me, I can acquire the skill and become it.
Correct.
What's important for us to realize is we're learning from each other. We're all a common thread. And we're all showing each other mirrors of good, bad, and ugly, and who we'd like to aspire to be, as well as how far we've grown. But the key is, recognizing who do you want to be. So I was born a shy, quiet East Indian girl.
I don't believe it.
I totally was.
I don't believe
But
shy.
I didn't like that girl. I wanted to shift her. I was inspired by people who could speak up in crowds, who could do a talk. When I did my TED Talk, I was even amazed. Oh my God, you spoke in front of all these people, and it's out there forever now. But the main thing was this.
And by the way, I heard it's fantastic. I didn't get to see it yet.
I worked in
Some
prison
of our people
settings.
saw it and they said, she's
I enjoyed
off
that
the
one.
scale.
I enjoyed that one.
That's what they said about you.
I enjoyed it. Thank you. But I worked in corrections because I thought if I can work in the extremes, I can do everything in the middle. And it did work for me on a career front because it made me teach groups. It made me go out there. It made me learn also how to develop a thicker skin. And also I developed really good skills from exceptional mentors in hospitals. I worked at CAMH, which is a popular hospital with just forensics, and then I worked in the anxiety disorders clinic. I worked at UHN with brain and spinal cord injury, people who are paralyzed. Wow. When you work with extreme populations, military, 9/11, you realize it's not the stories, it's about the healing.
You have to be a very special person to be in your business, in my opinion. I find it really amazing. And, I'll say this a personal story. I'm not so sure if I'm supposed to say these. I have a daughter, and she wanted to be a psychologist because her dad went to prison when she was a young girl. And she suffered, and she wanted to help people. Yeah. She's a good person. And she went to UF, and she got a psychology degree. And I just picked at her and said, look, you can do psychology, great, help people, but you're not going to make much money. Now, of course, that paradigm is shifting, and we're going to talk when we get to that because from what I understand, but I haven't explored yet, you've cracked that code. There are ways in your game, your business, your industry, the arena that you're in to make money, to earn real money. But I said to her, look, if you start out as a psychologist, it's going to be very low pay, very tough work, long hours, and you're going to be treated a certain way and looked at a certain way. I have a better idea. You're really good at school. You figured out how to do good in school. Get a degree from law school. Once you have your law degree and then you walk into any environment, you looked at differently because we put labels on people. We judge people, all these stuff, all the things you just shared so eloquently, I just intuitively understand from being in the real world.
Yeah.
I couldn't have explained it like you, and I still couldn't. But I can tell you that I urged her and I planted that seed because there's nothing about her that's average.
Yeah.
And she's a queen, and she wants to be a queen, and she's not going to walk into some office environment and they say, grab a seat, you're sitting in a boardroom, you're making $30,000, $40,000 a year. She spends it on makeup. I'm just joking, but what I meant is you can be an attorney when you walk in, just because you have Esquire after your name and you're a lawyer, everybody looks at you a certain way because we're pathetic. The human race is generally, on one hand, pathetic, and on another hand, is amazing.
Yeah.
And so, you said we're all learning, but not everybody's learning.
Some people are stuck in their stories.
They're stuck.
And they lower the vibration and understand all human suffering is a catalyst for change. And so if you're ignoring...
It can be a catalyst for change. It's not necessarily. Be. Some people are stuck in this...
Some people get stuck because they choose not to change. Right. And so the one thing I find fascinating is your symptoms get louder and louder and louder until you sometimes have no option but to change. So sometimes I don't get people in my office because I want to fine-tune. They come into my office because they're in dire need and suffering. And by that point, they might need a whole multidisciplinary team to help them. They might need a psychiatrist for medication. They might need me. They might need medical treatment because now their body is suffering. You get a little red flag and you turn a blind eye. You turn a blind eye. You turn a blind eye. And one day that red flag gets so loud that you have no option but to shift. And when I worked with brain and spinal cord injury, what I realized is a lot of the people who were suffering were being taught how to take care of themselves. Some of those type A organized people who just sacrificed and put everybody else ahead of them, now in 1 second were disabled or in a place where they had to focus on their own healing, and all the people they took care of had to step up. And I saw that in my own household. Exactly. My dad had a pause in his life to focus on himself. And me and my mom grew up super fast.
I love the way you say that,
And it's fascinating.
But, you have managed to encapsulate all these years of your childhood in a quick, very, sort of sexy paragraph. But I know that it's a lot more than that.
Yeah, everybody
I
has
think
that.
about what you went through. You didn't just jump and grow up. It's a painful process when all of a sudden a family has to shift. It happened to my family. They went from having everything. I was the king of Boca. We had everything. Yeah. And then some, because I'm that kind of a guy. And then all of a sudden, it was like, what? Shame, blame, cutbacks, life changes. You got to go to a different school, got to go to a different neighborhood, all kinds of things. Got to go to social media. So, you can encapsulate a period of time in your life. Yeah. Like, oh, yeah, Mom and I grew up, but that gave you PTSD, and that damaged you. And I know we can't talk about certain things, but I mean, in your personal life, and my guess is that you went through some trauma as a result of that, and you used it as a catalyst to propel yourself to become an individual, independent woman, so forth and so on. But I know life, and my guess is you had to, as much as you gained in certain areas, you suffered, you sacrificed in other areas. Whether you knew it or not at the time, hindsight is 20/20. We look back and we say,
Well, you're so in the moment of do, and doing that you forget how to be a human being. And then those pauses in your life make you reflect, oh my gosh, look at how much I've gone through. I sometimes look at my resume, I'm like, wow, you were on fast forward and you've done a lot of work. At a young age, I've done 2 to 3 jobs since I was 15. And it's fascinating because now I look back and I see it. But during the time I was doing it, I was too busy doing it. And when you look at most of our lives, we don't realize the impacts of a lot of our experiences, and I call it emotional debris. What people come in my office to release and clear is the suitcase of baggage that comes with emotional debris, emotional memory of things that were childhood related or as you were growing up, just the hardships and the impacts they had on your mind, body, and soul. And you want to remove layers by just having compassion for it. And once you can see it
for yourself.
For yourself first and foremost,
You got to forgive
and then
yourself,
others.
right? That's something people don't.
You got to
understand
love
that.
yourself before you love others.
People forget that. That's so
I always tell
important.
people, don't give from an empty well, give from your overflow.
I love that.
Take care of you before you take care of others.
I need to learn some of your expressions.
Yeah.
Because I'm counseling people, and I'll get to that soon. But, my team adores you. I told you that.
Thank you.
And I have a mountain of notes and summations about things to get through. But there's one thing that jumped off the pages for me.
Sure.
Because I'm my own guy, and I'm an independent thinker. And what I love about your work is they say that, a lot of therapists, they help you deal, I guess, with your emotional debris as best they can. You teach people how to live, not just exist. That's great. That's what I think therapy should be. I told you a story off camera about Dr. Arthur Knoward, who enabled me to end a part of my life and to step into the greatest part of my life. He gave me the gift of Stephanie, and she gave me the gift of life. She took a house and made it a home. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That sort of a thing. I'm trying to be trite. But my therapist allowed me to come to that decision.
It gave you permission to live your truth versus what you thought you need to do.
Right. The picture I was painting to the world was more important than my own happiness. That's how crazy I was shallow. But I imagine there's a lot of people that live like that.
We're raised that way. I always say being well-adjusted to a sick society is unhealthy.
Say that again.
Being well-adjusted to a sick society is unhealthy.
I love that.
And our society perpetuates to compete, to self-sacrifice, to put others ahead of yourself. That scarcity mindset we can sometimes take on from our parents, especially if they're immigrants. And, you have to learn to start removing layers of what you think your life needs to look like and truly start living authentically. Authentic means you got to connect to yourself. There's a movie I really like. Have you seen the movie? It's a Julia Roberts movie called Runaway Bride.
I love that movie.
In that movie, she becomes every person's ideal person.
Yes.
And so they all fall in love with her. The science guy, the science girl, the athletic guy, the athletic.
And she's none of those people, really.
And she's none of them. So at the altar, she runs because she doesn't know who she is. And so when Richard Gere's doing a story on her, he's now in love with her, proposes, and is walking down the aisle, and she runs. And he's pissed. And he says to her, "You don't know who you are. You become every person's ideal person. And that's why you run, because you don't know if you want to commit to that identity forever."
Exactly.
And so he says, you need to find yourself. And she has a moment in that movie where Richard Gere called her on it. He says, "You don't even know what kind of eggs you like. Every partner you've been with, I say, what kind of eggs do you like? And they say the same as me, and they're all different eggs." So there's a scene in that movie where she makes every egg possible. And then she goes back to Richard Gere, gives her running shoes, and says, "Hey, Eggs Benedict. I hate all other eggs. I love Eggs Benedict." But she's not a kid anymore. She's an adult. We need to all do this. We need to, at some point, pause and really figure out, who am I independent of my parents, my upbringing, my culture, my money situation, my traumas, my bullying experiences, my schooling, my ADD, my anxiety, my traumas. Who am I beyond that? And we need to find ourselves. And that takes you as an adult to pause and reflect. But we're so busy by that point trying to fit in, make a buck, get married, have kids, do those things that everybody expects of you, that we sometimes never find ourselves until after those phases come into play.
I love it.
And then we have our midlife crisis, as we call it in North America, where we're just now not happy and not fulfilled in all the hobbies and interests and things that used to bring us joy. We've sacrificed to fit into a model that is not fulfilling.
I love that. Now, I often come across experts.
Yes.
People that are really well-spoken, well-studied. They have a lot of initials after their name. Yeah. All these different things. And they haven't necessarily, it's great at giving advice, and then people turn around and say, I wish I took my own advice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Do as I... So who's Monica Vermani away from... What do you really love to do? Am I allowed to ask these questions?
Yeah.
What do you like to do? Like some people say, I like pickleball. This is a new one that I get from people. I'm like, who are you?
I love to learn. I'm the one person who definitely doesn't get bored. Hobbies, interests, salsa dancing, pickleball, volleyball. I have a great group of friends. I'm someone who loves to live life fully, learn. There's so much out there that I think what we forget to realize is there's a whole world at our disposal. Meeting people,
Traveling.
I love my job, travel. But, meeting people, it's a mirror. Therapy is a mirror. So each person you meet, you just get to see, what do I like about this person? What am I struggling with this person? If you have conflict with somebody, sometimes you have the same trait, and that's why you're having conflict.
Do you have conflict from time to time?
Oh, I'm human. Yeah.
No, that's
there is nothing.
That's a deflection.
Yeah.
I'm
We're
human
all
too.
human.
But do you have occasionally conflict?
Mm-hmm. I get irritated, but then I correct and continue. There's a compassion in me to know that even at my worst, where I'm not being my shining, awesome self, I can correct and continue and forgive myself. I think that's one thing most people don't do, and I teach them in my office, is like we're all learning about ourselves. And so you don't have the most shining moment, and you snap at a parent, or you get irritated by a partner or a child. You can correct and continue. The key is, whenever you're not being your highest and best version of you, oftentimes there's a symptom behind it. Are you living life with health in mind? Are you eating properly? Are you sleeping properly? Stress is when your activity level surpasses your energy level. I'll say that again. Stress is when your activity level, mental and physical activity, surpasses your energy levels.
Wow.
And so when you're stressed out, this middle part is emotional debris and stress. So you have two options: bring down activity, but you got to work, you got to do your responsibilities. So the next option is to bring up energy levels. The basics, we don't do enough. Food, are you eating properly throughout the day to sustain life? Sleep, are you sleeping enough? Most of us work so much that we stay up longer at night because we feel like we haven't had enough time with ourselves. Exercise and breathing. When you are a kid, you breathe from your belly, and as you grow, you do short and shallow breaths. Those short and shallow come with stress.
I'm a short and shallow guy.
Because you're in your head most of the time.
I'm too busy, yeah,
and so you want to bring it down and ground yourself, because when you're grounded, you're less reactive and more responsive. And then the fourth one is a calm state of mind, dealing with things instead of letting them accumulate and become bigger problems. Sometimes we have relationship problems, or we're suppressing our voice, or we're denying medical conditions. Take care of you. You got to live with you after all. Are you living your highest and best version of you? I always tell people, even post-pandemic, when you're in pain, you spill over onto others, your family members, your loved ones.
Correct.
And you spill over onto them with irritation, with anger, with greed, shame, blame, guilt. But when you're in a place of health and you're working on yourself, there's also a ripple effect. You want a better world out there? Start with you. Work on you. And that's how I got into corporate wellness too. I was doing great with just individual clients in the hospital setting and personal private practice. But at some point, some of my executives were like, you got me into a good place. I want you to bring my workplace into a good place. Less toxic environments, more psychologically safe environments where people feel like they can speak up, ask for help. Can you bring tools to the workplace? Because those are numbers of people. And when you're in pain, you're spilling over onto others. That's your family member, your loved ones, but also your workplaces.
So I want you to know I've just made, through Raw Media, which is a company I'm building with a great team, we have, I believe that God puts things in your life for a reason.
Yes.
I'm very spiritual.
Me too.
I get it. People say, do you really believe in God? I said, no. I know God.
Yeah.
I communicate with him constantly. And it was brought to my attention not too long ago that every 11 seconds in America, somebody commits suicide.
Yes.
So we've been chatting now for 35 minutes. 1,000 people have killed themselves.
Yes.
I find that to be mind-boggling.
Mm-hmm.
1 in 4 people have some sort of a mental health disorder in the corporate workplace.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
It's a it's roughly estimated to be an $80 billion a year problem. I said, what does that mean? They said ADD, ADHD. Everybody's on antidepressants. They're addicted to drugs. They're addicted to alcohol. They have PTSD. They have lost a parent. At some point while they're in your employ, they've lost a parent, a sibling, a daughter. One of their family members had to go to drug rehab or alcohol rehab. Someone has been diagnosed, so they're taking antidepressants. They're taking Ambien. They're taking Xanax. They're taking things to go up. They're taking to go down, and 1 in 4 people.
Yeah.
I've been told that this is going to be the great affliction of the 21st century.
Mm-hmm. Post-pandemic, a lot of people had more anxiety, more disconnection, bad habits forming, as I call it, maladaptive, behaviors of alcohol, drugs, gambling, addiction to our phones. Some of what we call ADD is just bad lifestyle habits that are now taking over.
We've labeled it, and now we can write prescriptions, and we're taking out.
Everybody's looking for a quick fix. The truth is you got to go inwards and do the deeper work. Otherwise, those quick fix hit a plateau at some point, and they're not going to work anymore.
Correct. They work for a minute,
And you got to just figure out what's really going to make you happy.
You help people with that.
People are always like, I need to reinvent myself. No, you don't. You don't have to reinvent anything.
You need to tweak.
You need
Resolve.
to figure out what's going to make you happy. And we're constantly evolving and changing, so it's not stagnant. Who I was at 20 wanted certain things at 30, at 40, at 50s. Like when it comes down to it, it's about you pausing and reflecting to really get to know you in the equation of your life. You're born alone, you take your first breath in alone, and you die alone, your last breath out alone. On a God front, I have sometimes people come in my office with disbelief, and they're like, I don't know if I believe in a God. I go, but, do you believe in something? I think there's energy out there. Well, then that's God. It's not about labeling what God is. It's about understanding that, again, treat your body like a temple. Because if you shoot me right now, my mind, my body falls on the floor, something vanishes in thin air. And people call it energy. But if that is, your soul's made in an image of a God, then I'm going to challenge you to say, you don't call that God out there a loser, failure, not good enough, never going to amount to anything. Why do you say that to this one? Treat your body like a temple because you have something sacred inside.
I love that. Very interesting. I have there's so much to unpack here, I just have to say.
Yes.
But I'm a linear thinker, and I'd like to share with my audience in a linear fashion.
Okay.
Because I know when I watch a podcast or I watch a show, I have so many questions about this, and this. So your dad loses his leg. Mm-hmm. The family is in crisis. What Dad used to do, he can't do, so to speak. There's all kinds of things going on. So you're working, you're hustling, you're growing up. Mm-hmm. At some point, you go to university.
Yes.
You study psychology.
I actually started with a science degree. So I did a science degree, an honors science degree at University of Toronto. And so I did all the biology, chemistry, all of that. But then I also took psychology, sociology, criminology, and women's studies. And then I decided to follow that path.
So you're good
further.
at school, right? You're a pretty good student.
I work hard. I'm not going to say I'm one of those brilliant people who just gets it.
Okay.
I'm the girl who studied the book over and over to make sure I got it.
But you got good grades, right?
I got there, but initially, I would say if you're working 2 to 3 jobs and going to school,
very difficult. I can't even.
You're not going to always get the great grades. I had to work hard to get the great grades.
I understand. I'm not trying to diminish it.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to paint a really good picture of you because I have my own picture.
I worked hard.
I get it. That's my story.
But I also know one thing. My family's background taught me resilience, taught me how to work hard. My mom and my father were both hard workers. My mom, exceptional. Went back to school, got a job in the government, and came home, cooked a meal, the traditional household. But I didn't want to be the traditional household
I understand
woman.
that.
You become the opposite sometimes because you look at your parents and you're like, I don't want to be that. And we learn from them. My father, who was a traditional patriarchal man, learned having an eldest daughter that girls and boys can do the same thing. And he always was very proud of me.
You didn't want to be part. You didn't want to have that kind of family. You didn't want to sort of
I don't
create
think
that.
you choose it. Like, I don't think my mom and dad chose the family and how things unpacked. That just was what was laid out by whether it's karma or circumstances. I don't know. But I know one thing. The story of our family life taught me trial and error. Who do you want to be, Monica? Do you want to follow the same pattern, or do you want to break the pattern? And I think that's where free will and choice comes in. We are constantly faced with a crossroads of, do you want to be your highest and best or better, or do you want to stay stuck doing the same thing? And are you stuck on that hamster on the wheel longer or shorter? Depends on you believing in yourself.
My guess is you were so busy evolving and achieving,
Yeah.
learning, absorbing, you were becoming is a good word,
Yeah.
that you didn't really think of certain things.
I didn't,
And
but I know one thing.
They were in your rear view a little bit.
Life only gives you what you can handle. That's one thing that I took from my life. Life only gives you what you can handle, and if you believe in God, God only gives you what you can handle. I will tell you one thing.
I wish God didn't
have
trust me so much.
people with so much trauma, like horrifying
right.
traumas I've worked with.
Right.
And I always say to them, if you read this chapter in a book with your life story, would you think you could get through it? And they're like, no way.
Right.
But here you are in front of me getting through it. And sometimes the worst things ever shape you. And like you were mentioning about your daughter wanting to be a psychologist, I remember a patient whose parent got run over by a streetcar.
Oh my God.
And she dropped out of her program and became a doctor because she wanted to be
I love
better
it.
than the doctors that treated her mom.
That's really,
It's
that's
fascinating.
a great story. It's
My
all
TED Talk,
fascinating.
when you listen to that, I share 3 stories at the end of people who are doing horribly bad in their life and are remarkable. One's,
What you can overcome.
it's incredible.
It's incredible.
That when you believe in yourself, that you can turn a page. Your inner world creates your outer world. The key is cleaning up that emotional debris
Great word. Great.
and getting to a place of letting go of what does not serve your highest and best or better. And most of those are thoughts. Thoughts are powerful things, good or bad. They shape your life. What are you saying on the inside about yourself? What are you saying about your life, your relationships, your capabilities, men and women? As you clean up your inner voice, you attract the outer voice.
I love
that
it.
aligns.
I learned something called self-talk is so important.
Yeah.
I believe in that so wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
But I learned the label, self-talk, and so I use that a lot, and I get it.
Well,
And
you talked about suicide a couple of minutes ago, and I don't want to let that go.
how amazing is that? Crazy.
People disconnect when they're suffering, and we don't want to face it. Alcohol, drugs, overworking, being really preoccupied. We stay distracted from processing our pain.
We don't want to feel.
We
That's
don't
my
wanna
story.
feel. The more you numb,
Right.
you get disconnected from your authentic truth, and the more you're disconnected, at some point, you are walking around without a connection of any light to yourself. And so what we have to remember is that numbing does have a consequence. At some point, your family members are disconnected.
Correct.
You're disconnected from yourself. You lose focus on who you authentically are, and you got caught up in the story.
become
and you're
isolated. You become
numbing
isolated.
what? You're numbing the story.
I get it.
And we have to process the stories that come to us and realize I'm not my story, I'm more than that.
I love it, and this is really great. You're so equipped. You're so talented. You're so well spoken. It's just amazing to me. You get out of university,
Yes.
okay? You're always working, but you got out of university. You begin your career in corrections, right? We discussed that a little bit. I mean, I agree. What a tough way to start, but if you can do that as a psychologist, you could probably do anything. That's my feeling.
That was exactly my thought. I actually finished University of Toronto and did a college program specializing with abused women and children. I thought I'd just work with shelters and women in prison. And when I was working there, that's where I met the psychologist who was like, what are you doing? You need to keep going to school and become me. Go get your master's and your PhD and get your doctorate and become a psychologist. And it was his push that made me apply. And then I continued going. And then I met a wonderful woman who's still a colleague of mine, and Dr. Ferguson. And I remember saying to her when I was entering my PhD, can I afford this? This is going to make me broke. And she said, sweetheart, if I can do it, you can do it. I'm just from an average family. I went to school. I got this far. You can do it too. And you know what it is I think when you're looking for the right people to guide you, they show up. I didn't know these people, but they show up. And I do feel if you ask intrinsically and you spend time with yourself, who am I looking for? The right people show up. When I was writing my book, A Deeper Wellness, a book editor walked into my life, and she's phenomenal. She's like my fairy godmother.
Yep.
She's constantly there for me. But I remember asking on the inside one day, just bring me someone who's a nurturing figure, like a mother figure, who can kind of like kick my butt and push me along and keep me on track. And she showed up. I sometimes feel the hardest part for us is to be clear on what we want and what we need. It's not us doing all the work. It's us knowing how to leverage the world around us to get where we need to go.
When the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
You betcha.
These are things that I've determined in my life.
And a good teacher, according to Hinduism, a good teacher leads you back to yourself.
I love that.
Because it's not about somebody helping you fix yourself. It's someone mirroring back your potential.
So you've studied
your growth.
Hinduism. This is something
I'm Hindu by background. I'm
Correct.
half Hindu, half Sikh.
I love that. Okay.
And I'm born and raised in Canada, and I'm an ordained minister.
You're an ordained, we're going to get to that. Now, have you been back to India at all?
I have a few times, but more younger. It's not a trip you do for a week. It's a trip you do for a longer period of time.
It's a rough place. I have friends that have gone there.
Yeah.
They got sick and,
there's a lot of poverty. I think it humbles you to see
really
how
people
third
live.
world countries and how, countries that have a lot of poverty live. But what's also interesting? It shows you how much you have.
Right.
Like my parents.
You forget. You take for
have
granted.
been out
We
of
live
the
like
whole-
kings
yeah.
over there. They live in terrible. It's
My
very.
mom and dad had visited together their last trip, and I remember them coming back, and I said, would you do 6 months there and 6 months here? And my dad's like, no, it's so dusty and dirty, and like we're so accustomed to clean
water,
and
everything.
water and everything.
We're so spoiled.
We have first world problems so
Right.
many times, and we don't realize how good we
even
have.
our prisons. People live. Some of the guys are from third world countries, and they're repeat offenders because they get free air conditioning, 3 meals a day. They get to work.
I saw that with young offenders. I had young offenders who I'd work with, and they would first call me names and you don't care, and then within 2 or 3 days fall in love with you and see you like a sister or a parent
Correct.
figure. And they would keep reoffending. And I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you back here? And they're like, you know what? I get more love and care attention. I'm like, no, you need to go out there and find your tribe. And there's more than what you already know. Right. And that's the key for most of us. We do the best we can with what we know. You want to be better. Start surrounding yourself with people that you are inspired by, that you want to become like. And realize that we're constantly evolving and growing. But we choose sometimes friends at our level and below. But you can actually believe in yourself to choose friends at your level and above.
Correct. I love that. I say that if you want me to show you your future, tell me the 5 people you're closest to, you spend the most time with, and you're staring at your future.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I'm talking about judgment. We're judging people as lesser and better. The truth is everybody's the same. We're all learning from each other. Everybody's got a story. You can grow from everybody.
See, nobody's better than anybody. I don't
No.
believe I'm better than anybody, but the thing is we're all different.
Yep.
And we're a product of our experiences, our circumstances, and what we strive to become.
Yeah.
Not everybody wants what you want.
No.
There were a lot of Indian girls that wanted to be part of a traditional Indian family
Yeah.
and
that's
serve her
fine.
family. In my family, I had common goals with the woman I married.
Mm-hmm.
She wanted to be a stay-at-home mom,
Yeah.
take care of raise children, take care of a family.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be going out in the world and providing and being able to support sort of a traditional family. And we had a very good understand because that's what we accomplished.
Yeah.
And I learned the most important thing in a relationship is common goals. And the reason my psychiatrist told me that, he said, listen, inevitably, the lust, things wear off, things wear down. Over the course of life, you're going to drift apart.
Yeah.
No question. It's a common thread to almost all relationships. However, if you have common goals, you'll drift in the same direction.
Yeah.
And so this way, there's always a chance to come together because you still feel the same way about the same things. And I was blessed to have that man in my life. And again, when the student is ready, he appeared. So
and
now,
opposites attract, commonalities come together and stay together because those commonalities sometimes bring you that foundation.
Correct.
To support each other.
100%. Yin and yang, the whole story. So you're in the corrections world.
Yes.
Eventually, you leave and you establish a private practice.
I worked in hospitals along the way. I've always had private practice with a hospital. So I worked with anxiety disorders, and I worked in a forensic unit at a hospital. And there I met a psychiatrist, and we built a START clinic, which was for mood and anxiety disorders. And then I moved on to working at UH10. So I've always worked in different places so that I could enrich my experience.
I love that. I love that your journey is one that has allowed you to appear here today.
And the pandemic made me focus more on private practice, and
Is that what happened?
Yeah,
It was the pandemic.
The pandemic became pandemic, and my father had cancer at one point. So then you
sorry.
have to pick your battles.
I'm so
and,
sorry.
I chose to work just in private practice for the flexibility. And the beauty of that was I also got to focus on the corporate wellness, write the book, do the TED Talk. So it opened
Slow
up
down.
doors.
You have a very brilliant way
Yeah.
of encapsulating a period of life that probably was 5 years and jam-packed with accomplishment, and you just can,
when you're
dismiss
doing
it in
it,
two
you
paragraphs.
don't see it.
I understand, but I it's my job to try and unpack it, understand it, because you're a spectacular woman. I want to see how you became spectacular.
Uh-huh.
You weren't, like I said, you weren't born Dr. Monica Vermani. And to be in this chair in my studio at this point in time, you got to be somebody very special. So I want to try and understand a little bit more, and we're limited on time and all these good things. Mm-hmm. So now you're in private practice, and now you're starting to make some money. Is that because there's more money in that, correct?
Yes. You know what? Private practice hospitals, I think hospitals shape your training. Hospitals give you peer support. Hospitals give you, the debriefing you need as you're unpacking and learning about how to be a better professional. And then the private practice does make more money. However, they come with pros and cons. A hospital comes with benefits and sick leave and support. And then, private practice comes with being self-employed.
Woman is so practical. You weigh and measure everything. I love it. I was never that way. I was always interested in the top line. I figured I'd work everything else out.
Yeah.
So I'll never forget, this is in the 1990s. Yeah, 1990s, mid-90s. I was paying Dr. Gennard $150 an hour.
Uh-huh.
And I used to think that was pretty expensive, but I was making a lot of money, and so it was nothing really. I'm thinking $600 a month. Today it's a car payment, right?
Yeah.
And he gave me millions and millions of dollars of his expertise to shape my life, change my life, all for the better. Anything that went on the wrong side of my life was generated by my greatest thinking, my actions. But
well, where do you get an hour to talk about yourself? Throughout the day, we're so distracted
with an
from
expert
ourselves.
Who's trained to listen and advise.
And mirror back. What is the expert really doing? They're mirroring back for you to see yourself and guide you to guide yourself, because we do have the knowledge within. We just don't always believe in ourselves. What is anxiety and fear? Self-doubt. I don't know if I can handle it. Right now, post-pandemic, generalized anxiety disorder has been on a rise. Generalized anxiety is chronic worry about real-life concerns. And what is that really about? Self-doubt. You're always worried about, am I going to make the wrong mistake? But if life is just a series of experiences, there are no mistakes. It's all learning. It's all growth.
It's all exactly right. In the Kabbalah study of Jewish wisdom, I'm very up to speed on all scriptures because I had a lot of years to study.
I have a Babina Zaidi. I get it.
I love that. Wow, who's better than you? But they say in the Kabbalah is the 24 books of the Zohar. Mm-hmm. Each book is in Aramaic, Hebrew, and English. And each one of the 24 books is about 1,100 pages on average. I got through the first 8 books line by line while I was inside prison. And, right away in the first book, it talks about every day God gives you a challenge. Yeah. And it will result in either a judgment or a blessing. Mm. And it was very interesting. And then somewhere in the 7th or 8th book, I can't recall exactly, it turns out there are no judgments, only blessings.
I love it.
But, the learning part is the blessing. The hard lessons are blessings.
And I think
we
the more
consider
gratitude,
punishments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The more gratitude we have, the more blessings we have. I had somebody recently tell me there's 3 types of people out there. There's a lower vibration in Ayurvedic, which are Eastern practices. There's a lower vibration, which is tamasic energy, and that's takers. right?
Yeah, I do.
And then
I
there's the
understand.
one in the middle, which is Rajvik energy, and that is givers. Because many times givers are also seeking validation and looking for approval from their giving.
Of
They're not
course.
always doing it from the purest form.
100%.
And then the highest form of people are uplifters.
Elevate.
And those are sattvic people. Those are people that come with the intention to wake up in the morning, have gratitude for their life, and to wake up with that intention to uplift each and every person or thing in their life.
What did I say in the beginning of this podcast? Elevate and promote.
Yes.
I live by those two. This is who I've chosen to become at this point in my
Bingo.
life.
It's a choice.
It's a choice.
And it's about us getting away from our symptoms and our problems and our stories that weigh us down
100%.
to become those uplifters. And the more you work on you, the better you are for others.
So now, in order for somebody to see you
Yes.
in the last 5 years, and I mean professionally,
Yeah.
sorry, $150 an hour, $200 an hour, do you have a rate like?
Well, I'm Canadian, as I mentioned, and
Right.
and most people have insurance plans that can write me off because I am a clinical psychologist. I have a license number.
I love it.
And so most people's benefits do cover me. And
Really?
yes. And then if they don't, you can still write me off in your taxes at the end of the year because I do have a license number as a professional.
Okay.
Some people's corporations have been bringing me in to do corporate wellness as well as
I want to
something
do
called
corporate
office
separate. I
hours.
want to get to corporate because
Sure.
that's something I'm really going
Yeah.
into. But
But you can find me on drmonicavermani.com.
we're going to get to that. What
Yeah.
is your rate, though? Do you have a rate? If I just wanted to see you professionally and I'm a regular Canadian
ranges
guy.
depending on what you're coming in for and
What if I don't
you're-
know? What if I say, listen, you have like an introduction, like come in, we'll talk. It's my rate is $200 an hour. You have some sort of rate?
I do have a rate, and so when you do reach out, you'll get your
500
rate.
an hour?
Oh, it's not that high.
I'm just trying to, I just want the world to hear
Uh-huh.
because a lot of people have never had therapy.
You know what?
They don't know what it's
Therapists,
like. What
by
it's
the
like.
range of experience and stuff range, I'm at $320 an hour.
Okay.
And as a clinical psychologist, again, with corporate rates and things like this, it also varies.
Right. I'm sure the
And
corporate
there's
rate.
a sliding scale. Sometimes people are
Right.
in a need, and I'll do some crisis intervention at a lower rate depending on what they're in for.
Right.
I also have a team. I've opened up a clinic called Start
I
Living
want to
Psychology.
get to all this. You're
And
so
that
great.
Start Living Psychology. I have a team of people under me that, as I've been all over the media with the book and the TED Talk, I've been trying to build good professionals in my own house, like a boutique little clinic, where if you need marital counseling, I have somebody, addictions, if you have behavioral issues, autism,
I love it.
Asperger's, I can bring you in a
Right.
child support.
It's not one-stop shop. I'm Dr.
No.
Monica. Whatever ails you, I can heal you.
Yeah.
You know, you can help, but you need a team.
Yeah.
Because people have complex problems today, and there's all different things, and you know,
the
people need
more
medications,
people-
but they also need one-on-one counseling, and they might also need spiritual guides. They might also need to get married. The
And
minister's
you
right
need
here.
more and more people. In my opinion, it's about you working on yourself, and one person doesn't do it all.
If you want to
need-
serve people fully and properly,
Yes.
you need to have that sort of. I get that.
A multidimensional treatment
building.
approach.
I'm building that right now. Forget
Yeah.
about what I say. I'm actually doing these things right now, and I know that one course of therapy is not going to cure all. It's even so you need additional and additional, and so I'm going through this process right now. So you have what you call multidisciplinary.
Treatment approach. I have a number of people under. I also have online platforms for something called Life Lessons, 18 Life Lessons by Dr. Vermani. It's a little video with a handout and a worksheet.
You picked
can't-
18, huh?
Yeah.
Why'd you
It
pick 18?
corresponds with the chapters in my book.
18.
I think for wellness.
18
And,
means chai
yeah.
in Hebrew and life. I was born March 18th, and I've always been
I'm
told I'm blessed
August
for that.
18th.
Are you really? Mm-hmm. No, you're not.
Yeah.
Leo. Mm-hmm. Oh, boy. I'm not going to go there. Sorry. But I get that. That's so fascinating. So you've become a one-stop shop. Fair to say? Because if you
there's
are
a lot
not the
there.
right answer totally, and I believe you probably
I can
are,
totally send you to somewhere
you
else,
have
even if it's not in
you have
this.
the ability to resolve these different issues.
I'm trying to bring people that I trust that can give you the service and the quality, and also have the supervision from one another in a team. Because, sometimes even in private practice, what I find is the young people need some supervision and support. You can't know it all. It's nice for you to be able to ask somebody else, well, how would you do this?
I love that.
Right?
I love that. I think that's an honest approach.
Yeah. We're all learning.
Yes, but some people say to me, I'm in the business right now of trying to elevate and promote serving others.
Yeah.
And I've learned in my life, I look back at the course, the more I gave, the more I got back.
That's the recipe. I think if you really understand we're all common thread tied with one another and we're learning and growing, and as we uplift others, we uplift ourselves.
Right. And there were times in my life when I suffered from fear and anxiety.
Aha.
And I roped myself in. And that was the exact wrong thing to do.
Yeah.
Because then I started to literally
Isolate.
diminish and shrink my whole life, though. The more I gave, even when I had nothing, the more I got. It's a
Well,
miracle.
even when you're depressed, if you bring people joy, you get joy back.
That's it.
And
I
sometimes
always say.
we're in a place of self-scrutiny, self-judgment, criticism, and the more we, become tighter with our circle, sometimes we disconnect from the people that can lift us.
I met a young woman
Yeah.
who came to me for some help. And she wants business help, but it turns out the reason she needs business help is because she has made terrible choices with men.
Okay.
And she was married to a guy who was, the word she ends up using is evil, and pushed her down. It took away opportunities from her, hit her, abused her, emotionally, physically, a lot of different things. And she got out of that marriage, she raised the kids, and she moved across the country, did a geographic, I call it. Problem is she still brought herself, and she began a new life. And she met a guy right here in Boca.
Yeah.
And now he's abusing her, and he is evil, and these type of things. And she's explaining these things to me, and I'm thinking to myself, you're the problem,
Yeah.
not them. They have their own issues. I don't care about them. But if you can make that same mistake and keep repeating, what do I advise her?
We all have blueprints. 0 to 10, you're born in a household, not in that world out there.
Right.
And so the way mom and dad love each other is love. The way mom and dad fight is conflict
She was
resolution.
in foster care. Her parents
There you go.
chose to abandon her, and she became aware of them, and they still never took her in. She brought that up to me, and I was like,
Well, I've had people like this where I sometimes show them another perspective, which is maybe those parents did you a favor knowing that they're not capable.
that's what she told me, because they were heroin addicts, and they were in a bad world, and they didn't want to expose her to that.
But working on her own self-esteem to realize, why do I stay when somebody shows me a dark side of them?
That's the
Don't
key.
get me wrong.
You can't fix anybody if you're
Even
in a
if I want to
relationship.
believe everybody has God within them. Some of us have lower vibrations as human beings because we've personalized our stories and we're repeating cycles of abuse, trauma, neglect, anger. And, when somebody shows you a behavior, you need to realize you dictate the level of respect you're treated by. And so if you allow somebody to disrespect you or disrespect your God, then that's about you looking at, I don't feel worthy and deserving of better.
It's like you said, it's a mirror.
And so you need to look at, why do I feel incapable to walk away?
So what do
why
I tell
do
her
I
in a nutshell? Is there any quick advice?
feeling worthy and deserving of getting the help you need to get you out of
She needs help.
situations? Plain and simple, if somebody is hurting and harming you and you're allowing it,
That's it.
you need to look at, what is wrong? What do I need to do
Right.
to stop enabling,
Right.
this person
Right.
to keep doing what they're doing? And how do I stop hurting and harming myself by staying in a situation that is causing me hurt and harm? You are here, like I said, you're born alone, you die alone. It's an individual journey amongst a collective. The world around you is showing you sides of yourself you want to fine-tune to be your best version of you. Your best version of you dictates the level of respect people treat you by. And if you're not being respected or you're being harmed by others, whether it's friends or family, setting those boundaries, walking away, getting the help you need to help you get away is your responsibility.
I love it. Now, I'm under strict instructions here.
Okay.
We're going to do some quick responses, okay? What we call rapid fire.
Sure.
Have you done this before?
Yes, I have.
Okay. I'm not great at this, but
Okay.
so we have 10 questions, and you have to give us a quick answer.
All right.
Okay, you can't get into these lengthy explanations. I'm going to be forced to choose. John is pointing a
I'll
weapon
try
at
my
you.
best.
He's pointing a weapon at you right now.
Okay.
Okay, so it's this or that. Anxiety or depression, which is harder to treat?
They're both the same part of the brain. And so it's a chicken and the egg.
No,
Sometimes
you gotta
anxiety
pick
leads
one.
to depression.
I knew
Sometimes
you were gonna
depression leads to anxiety. And the truth is, the medication for it treats both.
Which is a good medication for it?
SSRIs usually help.
What does that mean? Give us the name of the drug.
Selective serotonin reuptake
Pick a drug.
inhibitors, Cipralex, but I'm not
An
the
antidepressant?
medication. An antidepressant
Okay.
helps, bring down the level of anxiety in your body, but oftentimes it's a chicken and egg. Sometimes you're anxious and it makes you depressed, and sometimes you're depressed and it makes you anxious.
I get it.
But it's the same part of the
I knew you
brain.
were going to do this to me.
Haha.
That's why I said this is not going to work. Trauma or addiction, which leaves the deepest scars?
Trauma leads to many times addictions.
Okay,
And
so the
sometimes
answer's trauma.
addiction
You can't answer
leads
one
to
word.
trauma.
You can't pick one word.
You can't do the, and
I'm under
they're
strict
both gonna
instructions
apply.
here. I'm under very strict instructions.
But remember one thing. What are we trying to numb when we get addicted to things? Our traumas.
I think the trauma leads to the addiction.
And
That's
sometimes if you are raised in an environment of addiction and you get addicted, they lead to your traumas.
I get that too. Reactive addiction.
Chicken and the egg story
understand.
again.
I understand. Mind or body? Where does healing really start?
Soul. I go beyond your mind and body. There's
Well,
a
you're
deeper
incredible. You're
self.
incredible.
There's a deeper
You're
wellness.
so incredible.
And deep down inside, everything's interconnected, mind, body, and soul.
You're
You can't
you're
subtract
incredible.
one of them.
I happen to agree with that. I agree with that. I never thought of it, but I agree with that. Love or fear? Which drives people more?
Fear drives people. Love heals people. Fear is self-doubt. Love is believing in your skill set, and believing in everything around is led you to your highest and best version of you, even if it's painful.
Past or future? Which one do most people get trapped in?
Both are bullshit. Here and now is all that matters.
Present.
Here and now is a present. When you're in the here and now, you're connected to your senses and you are experiencing, doing, and being. It's when you leave this moment, your mind goes to the past and thinks about regrets, comparisons of memories that went wrong, or it goes to the future. Future is imagination. You can imagine it to be as beautiful as you like, and you have a tendency to imagine worst-case scenarios.
It generates
Catastrophize,
anxiety,
worry.
right?
So future and the past are thoughts. What is anxiety, depression? A thought disorder. It exists when you're always living in the past and the future. Learn to live in the here and now all is well.
Who's better than you? I can't take it almost. Therapy or medication? Which
Therapy.
changes life faster?
Which changes life faster.
Correct.
So here's the key. Most people get to therapy in crises.
Right.
And so when you're in crises, sometimes you need a blanket to lower down your physiological symptoms. So the medication lowers your physical symptoms for you to do the therapy to change your life. And so which one works faster? I think they have to be done in adjunct. If you look at any good therapist, they'll say
Medication is therapy.
Plus
Medication is therapy.
Medication is throwing a blanket over your physical symptoms. It doesn't change your negative thoughts and your negative maladaptive
Okay,
behavior.
all right,
You
all
need
right.
both if you're going to do it. And the truth is the goal is not to stay on medication
That's
unless
true.
you have really significant, disorders. What you want to do is lower the volume of your physical symptoms, get to the therapy, change your lifestyle, and then taper off the medication.
So it's not your first day of this.
No.
Work stress or home stress, which is more toxic?
Stress, period. When it comes down to it, it doesn't matter what you want to label it, work or home or personal or intimate. It's stress. Stress is when your activity level surpasses your energy
I know
level.
that now. I
So
never heard that before.
bring down activity or bring up energy levels. If you don't work on you and you're stressed, you will spill over onto others in symptoms.
This is a good one. Success or happiness, which do people chase more?
Success or happiness. People chase success. Remember, being
I agree.
well adjusted to a sick society is unhealthy. And we think being adjusted to a sick society will make me successful. But the truth is, when the ingredients are good, everything is successful in life.
I get it.
And you perceive it. with gratitude, and that brings you more.
Silence or talking?
Silence, baby.
Which heals better?
Silence. The more you go in, the more you get the answers yourself.
Okay.
And we emotionally vomit on everybody, but we're not speaking with productivity. There's a beautiful quote I love. If by speaking you don't contribute to the silence, don't. And that's a Buddhist statement. If by speaking you don't contribute to the silence, don't. The only thing that contributes to silence is uplifting people, complimenting them, making them happy, or teaching someone how to be better. If it's not positive, stop speaking.
I love it. I love it. Strength or vulnerability? Which takes more courage?
Vulnerability.
I agree.
Vulnerability is you realizing that you're perfect and a work in progress. And when you realize you can open yourself up to vulnerability, like you said, the right healers and teachers show up.
And it takes strength to be vulnerable, I find.
You betcha. It's about looking at yourself with that level of compassion. We're not perfect, and we don't have to be. We have to be real.
You're kind of perfect.
Oh, thank you.
Today. You're kind of perfect.
We have to be real.
You're kind of perfect. I hate to say it like that. All right. You spent over 25 years helping people recover from everything you could think of.
Yeah.
You wrote an amazing book.
Yes.
Tell us quickly. A Deeper Wellness.
A Deeper Wellness is about conquering high stress, mood, anxiety, and traumas. It's a workbook. It helps you work through layers of anger, understanding what anger is. Anger is never about the person who pissed you off. Anger is about you and what you're interpreting. It helps you work through boundaries. It helps you learn how to put yourself first in the equation of your life. That book is about you pausing and reflecting and just doing baby steps. To me, many of us are overstretched and busy and lacking balance. Learning to bring in healthy habits is like mindfulness. It's about you mindfully bringing in techniques to help you be a better version of you. My book is just one tool that you can bring amongst so many other meditation practices and other healing practices that just make you a better version of you.
And now you have this whole corporate reach out, correct?
Yes.
There's so much pain in the workplace, and there's so much opportunity for you to help people, help companies, because if their employees are in better shape, they're in better shape. And we're going to talk a lot about this after the podcast, because I think it's something that's so important because it allows you to serve even a greater number of people.
I also do something with my lunch and learns and keynote speaking. I do something called office hours, where companies bring me in to help people anonymously sign up with me to learn how to use their benefits. One reason why people don't get the help is they don't know who to go to. Do I need a marital counselor, a sex therapist, a psychologist, a psychiatrist, a GP, a physiotherapist? What do I need? And many people don't understand how to manage their stress load because they don't know who to go to. And so what I do is I provide assessment, treatment, and diagnosis to help you figure out, okay, who are the right people to start with? Like I said, a team helps, but sometimes we need to know who to start with.
You need like a coach, like you're a quarterback. You say, all right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to run. We're going to pass. We're going to.
And our family doctors don't have the time.
They don't care. They don't know. I hate to say it. They don't know. They're entrenched in this nonsense.
Their intention is good. Trust me, I treat a lot of family doctors. A lot of them have anxiety too. They have imposter syndrome. They're worried about their workload. They're tired.
I understand that. Trust me.
But having an hour with somebody, I can really help you guide on what is your best actionable steps.
Not all therapists are like you, Monica. You're just really a spectacular human being on top of being a tremendous professional.
Thank you.
And that's why you're here today. And I want you to know I have had many, many therapists that I've met with for me, to help me, that after one or two sessions, it's like a joke.
Yeah.
They don't care. They're not capable, all these different things. But you're very special. Okay, to wrap up, I love to ask this question, even though it's sort of like a common question. What can we expect for you in the next 5 years? What are we going to see from Monica?
A greater healing. I have a podcast starting called A Deeper Podcast.
I love it.
And that starts this month. And I also have my book, A Deeper Wellness. I'm putting together an app where once you've signed up in the clinic, that you continue your healing journey here. And I'm hoping to bring it to universities where students who are struggling with life skills can learn how to implement life skills. Dating, anxiety management, studying management, learning how to manage their finances. Sometimes school doesn't equip you with all of it, and your parents don't know how to give you everything.
It doesn't.
So how do we learn how to be better human beings, to line ourselves up for security, for success, for being grounded, and also to make the right choices so that we can maybe minimize harm?
What a gift you will be on the podcast circuit. I mean
Thank
that
you.
sincerely, because it's a platform that ultimately will allow you to reach so many people that there's a lot of shame still associated with therapy, self-help, all these different types. Like, people get sick, they run to the doctor. They get upset, they get depressed, they get anxious. They won't go to a therapist. There's some sort of negativity. But you know what they will do? They'll listen to a podcast in the privacy of their own little home or in their own car, and that's a way to crack their code. That's my impression.
I find the hardest step is having that first session. When you have a first session, you realize this is not so threatening. We just did a session right now.
Yep.
And I'd love you to be a guest on my podcast.
I would be a privilege.
Thank you.
I'm excited. I would be excited to tell you my story. I really mean that. This young woman, I'm going to end with this. She's asking me, for help in business, and then it turns out she blames every missed opportunity in business is because she's with the bad guy that was evil and put her down.
At some point, you got to take
accountability. And I'm trying to think how I can help her. And you know what she says to me? Because she doesn't have the money to pay for real help, because there is a significant amount of money attached to it typically. But she does listen to podcasts.
Yeah.
And so I know exactly where to send her, because
Excellent.
you are a gift.
I have tons on my website. I have articles throughout the pandemic I wrote.
How do we reach you? Last question. How does everybody reach you?
drmonicavermani.com. You can find everything I have. I have articles from Psychology Today I write to every week. I'm on Global News once a month. You can have tons of information.
Are you on social media?
Yes.
Tell
Instagram, Facebook, everything. Look me up, Dr. Monica
Dr.
Vermani.
Monica Vermani.
And you'll find me.
A little East Indian girl, grew up in Toronto. Thank you
go.
so much for today.
Thank you for having me, and to each and every one of you out there, try to live your highest and best version of you. You are worthy and deserving of a better life.
We are worthy. Thank
and
you.
deserving.